All right, welcome. This is The Burning Question. My name is Peter, and today we have the guest, Silvia Sandri. She is director of the Local Carbon Network Project. It's part of All Power Labs, which is a gasification biochar equipment making company based out of the Bay Area. Welcome to the show, Silvia. So happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
So can you tell me about the Local Carbon Network? What are you guys working on? How's it going? And can you tell me about the project specifically in Italy?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the Local Carbon Network, it's community-based carbon drawdown. It's a project of All Power Labs, which is a gasification manufacturing, company for gasification equipment. And the whole project is premised on using local waste, local wood waste, to produce biochar locally and then distribute it within the community. And we do that in two ways. So we have a subscription model for home composting. So individuals can come onto this subscription, monthly subscription, and purchase the biochar, and they can also purchase a tumbler, paying it off each month, which we actually sell at cost price. So that is how we fund everything. It's kind of a crowdfunding, but you actually buy stuff. And so with that funding from the home composters, we actually get to donate biochar to the local community gardens in the various areas. And then we have another layer, actually two layers of that, because we like to keep things complicated. And so we're actually reaching out to individuals who want to do a little bit more than just do their own home composting. And we call them our LCN ambassadors, so the Local Carbon Network ambassadors. And they are people that we are reaching out to a little bit all over the US, of course, starting from the Bay Area and branching up. And hopefully they can help us distribute the biochar. So we're not sending out little packets here and there. We don't want to do that at all. We would like to have people that are acting a little bit like hubs, and they can offer the biochar together with some information, some education, because the two things, they really go together. We don't just sell biochar. We try, and there's a lot, actually, the subscriptions also fund a lot of free education that we do online. We've got a course which is going to be coming out every week now. We're doing free Q&A sessions from our Facebook group.
Cool.
So
and so there's a biochar aspect, there's a composting aspect, and then there's kind of like a learning and sharing aspect. Obviously the biochar is probably regional or local, as you're saying. Can anyone anywhere access your information about gardening and the kind of the learning, or is that restricted to the members?
No, it's free. Actually, we have two things, because we are working also in Europe. So we're doing it in Italian for people in Italy, and then we're also doing it in English on a time that is suitable in the US, and it's anyone can join. And then if people are interested in becoming, let's say, early adopters, and they would like to, subscribe, even though they're not in the Bay Area, and they would like to just get started and hopefully become an ambassador for us, then we actually can deliver them the whole subscription as well. But the focus is really very local communities, and then we have to get people involved in the various areas. So anyone in the US is welcome to come to our Q&A sessions or receive our home materials, and then they're welcome to become an ambassador and help us branch out within all the various communities. And I just want to say the longer arc of this is really to bring equipment that can produce biochar in all the different communities. Right now, it's not really possible because it's hard, because biochar, no one knows what biochar is, and they don't know how to use it. And home composting is still not very well known. So a lot of people think, okay, I've got a big plastic bin out in the garden and I'll just throw my food scraps in there and something's going to happen. And indeed it does. But, you know, not always good things happen in that, you know.
Right. Raccoons are a favorite composting technique there.
The what?
Raccoons are
well,
very familiar with that composting technique.
Very effective. But, you know, the thing is, so we try and teach people, even like, for example, in, you know, those big thermal boxes that you deliver the food in, like big polystyrene box, and we cut 2 holes out the sides, and we put in equal amounts of sawdust and food scraps, and then we put in the biochar, a 10 to 20% of the biochar, and it makes like a really beautiful, rich compost that holds the water. So, you know, we try and teach all these things, and you can do it in like in a box, which you can put the box on top of your washing machine on your balcony, and you don't need a whole big, complicated, expensive apparatus. Right. And we do have that too, because we have a beautiful, you know, steel tumbling composter, which, you know, we can sell. We're actually selling really at cost price, just to help people in case they find the DIY things not you know.
Yeah. So tell me, the kind of zoom out a little bit. You know, obviously All Power Labs, you know, wants to support the field generally and sell gas fires, biochar equipment, pyrolysis equipment. But what's the overall goal? If you know, you're sitting in a room with lots of whiteboards around you, and like 2025 is written up on the board. What are you writing under it, right? What's the dream?
Well, the dream is carbon drawdown. I mean, that, because the thing is this, we have local wood waste. The All Power Labs equipment, they're really small. They're, you know, 25 kilowatt size gasifier, which, you know, fits in a shed, okay? So you don't need to haul wood across very long distances. So ideally, we would like to have equipment in place across the US that is turning local wood waste into biochar while it is producing heat and electricity. So it's offsetting, you know, the fossil fuels by producing heat and electricity, and it's producing the biochar, which already in itself, that is all carbon that is not going to go back up in the air, because the way we like to see it is like we're working together with nature. I mean, nature produces wood, great, but then if that wood burns or it decomposes, then the greenhouse gases are almost completely, you know, back up in the air. Whereas with the gasification process, we know that half of the carbon that was originally in the wood is in the soil forever. Reverse coal mining, we call it. You know, we're just bringing it down. And you know, one kilogram of biochar has a carbon impact of about 20 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, which is about as much as a tree does in a year. So you know, if you're in a subscription model, like, you can do a ton of CO2 just by yourself. Okay, so what we would like to see happening is really for home composting to become just the normal thing. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the world before we were recycling our trash, and that was the normal thing. And then suddenly couple of years, and then we were all recycling our trash, and now that's the normal thing. And now I think home composting should be the new normal, you know.
So that's an interesting dream, right? So it's to make home composting and the use of biochar and creation of home compost as ubiquitous as recycling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Also because it's so much easier. I mean, I don't like taking the trash downstairs. Here in Italy, for example, we have to take it 3 times a week on specific days, and all that. And then in the summer, it's very hot, gets very smelly, even and you don't have any of that. And so what we're doing, for example, which we're teaching that on balconies as well. So we have, those like plastic crates, the milk crates, stuff like that. And we just put gardening fabric on the inside. We put the compost, then we put another box, and we put compost, and we plant in that. So it's nice and tall. The compost is maturing underneath, and on top you're growing in it. And a lot of people, they don't do gardens in their balconies and stuff, because just buying the soil, bringing it to your home and pouring it, it's all quite time consuming and difficult. But like, you have this abundance of really good nutritious soil now. It's beautiful, so and knowing that you're doing that, and at the same time you're funding education to everybody, and you're funding your local community gardens, because they're doing a whole bunch of the work, and it's fair that they get it for free, because the amount of impact that a community garden can have is maybe 20 times what an individual can do. And so that was our commitment as All Power Labs and the local carbon network, was to be able to do that, because if you're asking for $25 or $50 a month according to the thing, it's not a heavy lift for any individual person. But then when you take a little bit of that money and you use it to cover the cost of the biochar that goes in bulk to one of those community gardens, then everyone wins in the end. So
right, that's so it's a very compelling vision. Now, what's working and what's not?
So a lot of things are working, in the sense that there's a lot of interest, and what I see that what's not working is maybe us, because we are, I think it took us a long time to really pinpoint what we needed to do. So like, we kind of branched out, and we weren't sure if we were going to do like biochar sales, but that didn't really feel right. And, so I'm trying to think, and I don't want to just say anything out of, but
well, let me put it this way: what have you accomplished, and what are you still working on?
Well, what we've accomplished so far is that we've got 3 local carbon networks in the Bay Area, with 3 more coming soon. Each local carbon network is at least 4 to 6 community gardens and a certain number of subscribers.
And they each have their own gasifier, or are those are those all?
No, currently we are producing all the biochar in Berkeley, so that's why we're really close. In Italy, we also have a project going, and that we have also in our town. It's a different gasification company, but we are in a collaboration with them. So it's always locally. And again, it's probably, that's one thing that I won't say it's not working, but I would say it's hard that there isn't really a market for biochar. People don't know what biochar is, and then we don't really want to be shipping little packets of biochar all over the US. Although if you calculate the carbon impact, the footprint, it's actually fine. But we don't like the concept of it, and so probably, I would say, until such time as the whole home composting and the biochar is well known, we can't really get equipment out into the various regions and into the various communities. And so it's like a chicken or egg situation a little bit. There's no market, so you can't bring the equipment, and there's no biochar locally, so you can't really create the market. And so that's a little bit hard. But what I love is just when people have that aha moment, it's incredible. I've had, for example, we're working with Italian schools. So before COVID and everything, I held, 2 big lectures, 400 kids, and, they have this aha moment. Okay, it's great. So we need more people to have the aha moment. That's what's not working yet, because I
Yeah.
think it's also hard because there's not an incredible amount of money, let's face it, but biochar is not, so like you can't really go and do like a big advertising campaign as if you were like a perfume company or something,
Right.
so
Yeah, so you feel like the education component is one of the big hurdles at this point. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, so I think we try to keep these short enough that people can actually watch them. So I'd love to know, what kind of timeline are you operating on? What's the next step, and when could we chat with you again and see how things are growing and progressing?
Yeah. Okay. So the timeline we're on, I'd say, is I'd like to see where we're at in about 5 years' time. Hopefully, we're going to have local carbon networks in other areas of the US. I hope we have a lot of ambassadors, especially people who are stay-at-home parents, for example, who maybe want to have a second job or something and just enjoy the community. Those kinds of people are the people that we'd love to meet. And then the exciting thing is that we've now partnered with the soils company, which is called SimSoil. And they have studied and patented, basically bacteria and fungi for a full microbiome. And so we've got a starter for the compost, we've got a finisher for the compost, and we're actually increasing the kits. So before it was just the biochar and the tumbler, and now we're having an option to have the biochar, the tumbler, and the sawdust, and the finisher, and the starter. So really, you don't have to do a lot of work. You just have to put your stuff in and give it a little mix.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like a bake-at-home cake. It's like, you just mix all the ingredients together, and voila.
Look, it's alchemy. Composting truly is alchemy. And I see myself as like a breeder of microorganisms. And you take all this stuff and then it heats up, and after a while it smells like the forest floor. It smells like soil after a while, and you'll never want to throw anything away again. It's just like,
That's exciting. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the burning question. And I think the last thing that I always try to ask is, what's an area of expertise if someone in the biochar community is interested in talking with you, and you say, well, the area in which I always love talking to people is X, Y, or Z thing. Is that something that you would, is there an area you say, please just email me about X, Y, or Z? I think part of what I would like to help do is knit the community more tightly together, so that we can leverage all the, there's a strong DIY and there's a strong kind of inventor component to this community. And I want to make sure that, everyone's not reinventing the same things over and over again, making the same mistakes over and over again. So is there a part of something something of your work that you'd really like to share or chat with people about?
Well, I would say definitely the use of biochar in composting. That is something that we have now, because we're in a network of, about, I think, at least 12 community gardens, if not more. And we get all the feedback from that. And we've also done our own research, and also with the partnership with SimSoil. I think in the agriculture, because you can use it, you can use biochar in many ways, not only in agriculture. So specifically, though, I'd say the composting, yes. And the home composting is something that is still quite unknown, especially in like apartment blocks where you don't have a garden, you just have a balcony. So like really small composting.
Like urban gardening, and composting.
Definitely.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to chat, and we'll check back in or give us a holler as soon as something exciting happens. We'd love to hear
Can
from
I say
your
something?
project. Yes, of course.
I would love it if, so we have another 5 weeks going, but then we're going to probably pick up again in September. So I would like to invite people who see this video to the Facebook group called the Local Carbon Network. So we have the page and the group. The group is a private group, and it's just like a really self-help kind of, everyone comes in and says something, and then we have the Q&A sessions. So that would be great. You're welcome.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to include that in the post.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for chatting. Bye now.
Bye.